Hello everybody, I'm back again. My name is Ron Estrada. I am a writer of paranormal novels, both adult and young adult. I have finished my first series this year, well, almost finished, finishing it up right now. It's called the Cherry Hill series, and you can learn more about my books and what I'm doing at ronestradaBooks.com. Check it out there. My first book, like most authors, is free now. Until I start the next series, then that one won't be free anymore. I see Morgan is with us. Hey guys, go ahead and give Morgan a follow. She does this too, although she didn't do it yesterday, so I'm going to scold her. I was looking for her. She's trying to autocorrect. But anyway, check out my books on the website, or go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple Books, any of those, and just search Ron Estrada, and you can find me there. And today I want to talk about how I went from, I've said before that it took me about 15 years to write 4 novels, and in the last year I managed to finish 4 more. Part of that is because I became more confident in my writing. I'd taken all that stuff I'd learned in the last 15 to 20 years and actually started to apply it. And once you start doing that, you get a little more confident, and you understand what you're doing. So you can concentrate more on the writing and less about fixing the mistakes. You'll still make mistakes, but it becomes easier to fix them. You understand what you're doing wrong. And the more you learn about your craft, the easier it is to increase your output. But how I managed to juggle my full-time job and my writing. I also have another part-time job. We have a family business I do the marketing for. So I get about an hour a night to write, and maybe another hour after that to do something else writing related, and I'll talk a little more about that. But how I do this is I keep 3 novels going at the same time, or 3 projects I should say, and they're in different stages. For every novel there is a stage in which you are plotting the novel. If you are not a plotter, if you're a pantser, you're going to do this after you're done. You're going to spend more time editing, but just add that time on to the editing portion. So I plan on about 3 months to plot the novel. I'm trying to shorten that up, and we'll see how I do with that, but I'm trying to shorten that timeline up. But right now I just plan on 3 months to plot the novel. And the nice thing about plotting is I can do that anytime. I do all that on my iPad, so I carry that around, or I use OneNote, which I've mentioned before. So OneNote is on my phone, on my desktop, and on my iPad, or any computer I want to log into. I can log into Microsoft and pull up my OneNote, and I just keep. I'm always, whenever I have a spare moment, I can do some plotting, and I use a method called the Snowflake method by Randy Ingermanson. He wrote a short book on the subject. I think it's about $3 on Amazon. It's called the Snowflake method. And I just follow those steps, and I've added a couple more. I've modified it a little bit to meet my tastes, but I've always got that app available to me, so I can be plotting wherever I'm at. I'll do some during lunch sometimes in the morning when I got a few minutes, whenever. But usually within 3 months, I've got my book outlined and ready to go. No, my first novel, Now I Knew You, I've already published. And my second novel is called Angel and Me. That is also published. The third novel in that series, which is called Cassandra's Crossing, I'm just finishing up the editing stages. I've sent that off to my editor for her to go over it again. And I plan on having that third novel up in September. The fourth novel in the series, called Lydia's Way, I'm at the tail end of that now. As a matter of fact, I wrote the last couple of scenes last night. Now I'll go back through and kind of fill some holes. And then I'll be editing that for the next few months. Which brings me to going back to what I was saying. I've always got 3 novels, juggling 3 novels at the same time, one in the plotting stage, and then I've also got one in the drafting stage. Right now, like I said, that's Lydia's Way. That's the one I've got in drafting stage right now, and just finishing it up. And so I assume once I've got my novel outlined, it's going to take me about 3 months to draft it, and that's pretty much 1 hour a night sitting at my computer and just plugging it away. I'm trying to write shorter novels, as many newer authors are, because we're not tied into the publishing company standards anymore. The reason publishers set word counts, you know, that typically a young adult novel will have 70,000 words. Some of you have heard these rules before. A mystery should be no longer than 80,000 words. That's because it's all about economics. It's about how much paper they want to put into publishing this thing. They don't want to invest in publishing a book that's only 40,000 words because it's not worth the cost of the publishing for a book that short. When most of the publishing now is electronic, we don't care. We can publish a book of any length. As a matter of fact, if you go back through literary history, you'll find that these are fairly new rules as far as word count, book length. A lot of books, John Steinbeck, one of my favorite writers, his books were, you know, anywhere from, you know, I want to say Red Pony was less than 200 pages, a very short novel, to The Grapes of Wrath, which was a pretty long novel. So they wrote what needed to be written. They didn't rely on word count. We can do the same. I like shorter books because I can write them faster, and B, I don't think the modern reader tolerates longer works anymore. They like episodes. They're into, you know, the weekly TV series. They like the quick fix, and a lot of them are reading on tablets, on phones, things that, you know, it looks cumbersome to them to have to read a large book on something like that. So in my drafting, like I said, it takes me about 3 months right now. And in 3 months at 1,000 words a day, obviously I can crank out 90,000 words if I want to. By shortening that, maybe I can shorten that timeline, or I can just, you know, go ahead and write the 90,000 words and edit out what needs to be edited out. And then, of course, the last stage of all that is I've got the one book in the editing stage. And the editing, to me, is really where the work happens. Normally, even if you're a plotter, if you plot heavily, when you finish that first draft, it's an absolute mess. That's why I always recommend you just get through that first draft. By the way, while you're drafting, there is no editing going on. You're just plowing through it. If you need to take notes along the way, it's one thing I like about Scrivener. I use Scrivener to do all my writing. There's a little note function you can have pulled up on the screen too. And I use 2 monitors. Monitors are so cheap now, you can find an old one, hook it up to your laptop and make a second monitor out of it. And I'll keep my notes up there as I'm going. If there's something that I have to write down, jot down to come back and check later, I can just do it on there and keep writing. No editing while you're drafting, just get it down. And then when you get to that editing stage, now you know what your story is about. You know your characters. You know how it ends, most importantly, so you know what needs to be fixed as you go back and edit. So during the editing process, is probably my longest process, really, even though I said 3 months for everything. That's the one that really takes every minute of that 3 months, because I'll go back and I'll fix those mistakes. Then I'll send it out to beta readers. I've got about 10 right now. Always looking for more, so if you're interested, give me a shout. Then I send it off to my regular paid editor. Always recommend a paid editor, unless you happen to have a friend or a relative who is a real editor, not someone who just says they know how to edit. Editing is a craft in itself. It's hard work, and you need somebody with good eyes to spot the mistakes. And there are 3 levels of editing, and I'll talk about that in another Periscope. But so that's how I keep 3 books going at the same time, and that's how I got 4 books out last year. And like I said in my headline, my goal next year is to double that output. I'm sorry, should have brought a bottle of water with me. The next series is 2 parts. I'm combining a young adult novel with the adult version of the story. They're 2 different storylines, but they're happening at the same. It's the same overall story, the same world. Set in Detroit, a futuristic Detroit where things have gone from bad to worse. And there's demons and shapeshifters and vampires and all kinds of fun stuff going on. But I've got my adult novel, which I'll write as I have traditionally written, you know, a full-length novel over a 3-month period, and my plan is to get 1 completed this year, then the next 3 next year of that series. And then the young adult version, I actually, because I already know the story world, I can crank that out a lot faster. So I'll sit here during lunch. After I'm done with this, I'll eat my lunch and I'll sit down for half an hour and crank out a scene. And because it's young adult, it tends to be shorter. And I'm posting that directly to Wattpad right now. And I get immediate feedback on that young adult version. Once I have the feedback done on that, I'm going to start uploading that to Amazon as a serial novel, meaning it's basically a novel broken into 4 parts, 15,000 words each, and I can post those to Amazon and start selling them immediately. Bundle them later, which gives me another product to sell, and at the same time I'm working on the adult version of the same novel. So in that fashion, my goal is to have it actually works out to 8 full novels within a year for young adult and for adult of the same story. But I'm also writing the episodes for the serial novel. So do the math. If I'm writing 4 young adult novels and I break those into 4 episodes each, that's 16 uploads I plan to put on Amazon over the course of the next year. So I can be selling those, and those who want to wait for the bundle, they can buy the bundle of the books. So not only does that increase my output, it increases the number of products I can put on Amazon. I know we're artists and we hate to call them products, but that's what they are. If we really want to make a living out of this, we have to think about how to better sell our products, our novels. They are works of art. I love them dearly, but in the end, I have to make money off of these things. So do you. So think about different ways like that. You know, I'm going to step off the subject for just a minute. You know, this is a whole new world. Think about different ways you can be selling your work, different ways you can be adding to your library of completed works. There's no more rules, except for, you know, whatever Amazon or Barnes & Noble or Apple wants to apply to you. I mean, the Amazon, you got KDP Select. It's always changing the rules on us, but we're not strapped down to any of them. We can do what we need to do to promote ourselves, promote our writing as a business. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. So that's how I manage to keep the output flowing. That way I'm never between projects. When you're in between projects, you're not working, and you're not getting paid. So if you can keep 3 novels, you know, if that's too much, make it 2. You know, like I said, if you're a pantser, you're not really plotting. You're just either writing or editing. It's just that your editing process is going to be longer. So that's all I had for today. I'll post this one to my website for those of you who are looking, authors who are looking at using Periscope. Save these videos off, put them on YouTube, and then post them to your website. Repurpose everything, right? So that's it. Again, my name is Ron Estrada. Look me up at ronestradaBooks.com and on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iBooks, whoever's selling books these days. There's some places I don't even know about. So God bless. I will talk to you next time, and keep writing.